Oh, that was still. Welcome in, everybody.
Hello. Happy Sunday. How you doing out there?
How you doing? How you feeling? How you living? As you can see, we're in somewhat of a different setup this week. And so let us know if y'all can hear us okay. Let us know in the chat. We'll be monitoring. But welcome in. Welcome in. This is our what Sunday? How many weeks have we been at this now?
15? This is 15. Thank you so much for tuning in all of these weeks. We definitely appreciate you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already. What are you doing? And we totally appreciate your comments. So don't forget to come back and comment even after the live is over. We definitely appreciate that as well.
Of course. I need to get all the way back to the top of my notes here. All right, let's see here. All right, and of course, if you haven't already checked out our merch, please check it out. Check out the merchandise. We have some of the dopest merch in the game, if I must say so myself. We have hoodies and sweaters and mugs and little trinkets, little stickers and stuff with such messaging on them as think responsibly, keep rising, and Sacred Cow Grill Masters, which is kind of one of my favorites. I like that.
And Poor Fella coming soon.
Poor Fella is coming soon. And it looks like I just saw wasp in here.
Yeah, gotta keep an eye on it.
All right, let's see here. And what's going on, Black Atheist Rants, the legend himself. Man, maybe a bit of an echo, but some rouge and sound panels will eliminate that. Thank you. Top of the day, advocating for humanity. Woohoo! Yeah, double apostasy. I love that. All right. Well, we're almost into another month. So do you know what that means? That means we're getting ready to do another ex-pastor call-in show. Yes. And I know I said last time that we would switch it to Thursdays, but I've been wrestling with it ever since you started talking about it, I've been wrestling with it. Yeah. And the decision has been made. We're sticking with Sundays. We are sticking with Sundays. Ex-pastor call-in show will continue on the first Sunday of every month. So we are definitely looking forward to having you in there. And also this month has gotten away from us. It's been so busy. Man, this is why we're so pushy on volunteers and trying to find some partners in this thing.
Yes, partners.
Because there may or may not be a group therapy this week. Typically, we try to do group therapies the last Thursdays of every month. And I'm just going to be honest with you, I have not had the time to really organize anything and reach out to other people, especially this month has been so busy. So may or may not be. Keep your fingers crossed, as they say.
Fingers crossed.
And then also next week, next Sunday, I'll be on Talk Heathen. So we'll definitely see you there. And so we'll do this the same way we did last time when we did Talk Heathen, is that I'll come on and I'll do some pre-recorded content, but Baby Girl will be guiding that show, driving that show. And again, this is just another place to plug how much we need volunteers and how much we need partners. So that way, when we do have these dates that we are double booked, we can assign someone else, or someone else can assign themselves to taking on the work for the Sunday sessions.
Absolutely.
All right. The next thing is I want to hit that there's these two big positions for volunteers that we're looking for. They're more like partnership positions. They're definitely driver level. Definitely something where we're looking for leaders in this, and that's a COO for DLDD World Group. All the content on this channel is a product of BLDD World Group and our commission and our commitment, rather, to build a global hub of authentic leadership and help empower communities. And so if that's something that aligns with you and you have some operational experience and you're willing to upskill and scale up with us, holla at us. That other position is we're looking for someone to partner with us. And this, you can actually have more than one for this one. But as a campus executive, and those are some people who will be committed again to helping us with some of these Sunday sessions, helping us with Bible study with the next pastor, helping us with the ex-pastor call-in show. There's another. Oh yeah, and group therapy, keeping those managed, as well as managing our platforms and making it easier for people to volunteer, get involved, and find the support and resources they need. And so if you have any experience in ministry, in your faith days, or any experience in hospitality, any experience in community leadership, organizational development, anything like that, you are desperately needed. As I kind of said last week, this community will stall in growth, efficacy, and efficiency, and even diversity, until we can identify passionate people to help. And diversity is very important. It's very important to the vision of what we're doing with BridgeCity Global and the Bridge. And so we need diversity of thought, and we need that not just on what some people would call the lower level of volunteers. We need people actually partnering with us at the table so that they can make sure that those diverse thoughts, ideologies are being represented. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a great way to say that. And leading into that, we also always, love to recognize our community announcements, those who are also working, I want to say in the field, but that's the kind of working in the field. Yeah. So Nurch, as you know, Nurch comes on Sundays. Yeah. So go check Ichabod out at 10 Central. They also have other shows during the week. Of course, you're here for the Sunday sessions. Mr. DL get down all week long. So thank you for tuning in.
Not Mr.
Mr. DL.
Mr.
And then Let's Talk Skeptic Haven has their shows on Sunday, and they also have a variety of shows that you can tune into. And of course, Miss Maya Atkinson have Bad Science Sundays, so go catch her tonight. Don't forget about Stacy Mom's podcast with Sometimes You See Stacy and Dee. You can check them out during the week as well. And yeah.
Awesome. You got some more announcements.
Oh, I do. Oh, of course. If you haven't ordered Christ Held Up, make sure you go ahead to Amazon and order it now. You can get it in PDF or a Kindle version, or you can get a handheld physical copy. Also, if you already have bought Christ Held Up, go ahead and leave a review. We would definitely appreciate your thoughts on the read there and your honesty as well.
For sure.
What you think about that. So thank you to all who have already bought the book and supporting there as well. And have you all seen the live restream that we've been doing? What's it? When did you start that? Did you start that in June?
It may have been in June, yeah.
In June. If you haven't caught it, go ahead and check that out. If you have been catching the restreams, I know at first some people was like, "Oh, I missed it," or no, we're just doing several.
We're testing.
Testing it out, seeing how it goes. So we love your feedback there. Thank you to those. There have been some who stayed up weaved away of the night watching or jumping in early in the mornings. So we definitely appreciate that. Continue to look out for different things that we'll experiment with and see what works. So.
And one of the biggest reasons why we have been experimenting with the restream is for the fact that there are people on different in different time zones, and even who are not in different time zones. We all have kind of different work habits, different work hours, different living hours, waking hours, and so since this year started, we've launched so much content on this channel that we actually do have enough to kind of stream it 24/7. So we are testing it right now just to kind of see if it is something of value. That is something that's very big to me, and I do try to stress that in these conversations, is that anything that I'm doing, I want to make sure that it is bringing value. Otherwise, it might be a waste of time.
Yeah. That's where feedback comes in.
Absolutely.
So we continue to appreciate that feedback always.
For sure. All right, so are you all ready to jump into today's conversation? We've been hard. I love it. I love it. Hey, Pragmatic Crystal, welcome in. We've been in this conversation for the past few weeks, entitled "Please Don't Stop the Music." And really, this conversation has been an exploration of finding ways to harmonize your life in the midst of chaos, or harmonize our lives in the midst of chaos. Now, one thing I do like to stress in these particular conversations is that we are not offering a type of 5-step plan to success or some blueprint to peace. I don't know if any such thing exists.
Yeah.
Instead, Sunday sessions are meant to be conversations that we can all participate in and possibly be able to pull something from the community conversation that's helpful for each of us. So today, the topic or the theme of our conversation today is counsel culture. We started with table dancing, moved to musical chairs, and now we're in counsel culture. We started with the analogy of the dancer, where we talked about how a dancer can be out of shape, can be out of practice, can be out of performance. But if they get this kind of call or the opportunity of a lifetime, they're going to do whatever it takes to put themselves back in tip-top shape in order for that performance. And we can learn so much from that analogy, because what we realize, as I've stressed for the past 3 weeks, is that it's not just dancers that do that. We all do that. All of us have opportunities that mean something a little more to us than other opportunities, and for whatever reason, pull more out of us when it comes to discipline, when it comes to management, when it comes to it's like we'd be surprised at how many things that we engage in that we don't feel like it's possible to condition ourselves towards success. But then all of a sudden there comes things like I've seen people, especially when dealing more in the social field, I've seen people who felt like they couldn't be a good parent. Like there was nothing they could do to be a good parent. And then something happens in their life, it triggers something on the inside of them where they begin to condition themselves to be a good parent. Like it could be. I've seen this happen with young men sometimes, who couldn't keep a good job, or couldn't keep a job at all, type of thing, and maybe went from relationship to relationship to relationship. And then all of a sudden something happens in life and they say, you know what, I have to do better for my kids. And for them, that's kind of like that dancer moment. that for whatever reason, it hits them that my kids are the performance, and me being a good parent is the performance of a lifetime. And they begin to condition themselves to achieve that.
It's like that aha moment.
Yeah.
Certain stages in your life, you're like, I figure out what to do.
Like I figured out what to do, and I'm willing to do what it takes.
Right.
Because I think that's the other part of it. It's part of, number one, realizing I am capable of doing this. Mm-hmm. But then there's another part that's like, no, I'm also willing to do this. And sometimes I don't know which one comes first. Sometimes I think will comes before capacity, and sometimes I think capacity comes before will.
I can see that.
Sometimes people slip up on realizing that they can do something, and so that feeds their will.
Yeah, and that's definitely for sure my experience, especially in the performing arts world, because there's some people come in with no skill. They're not sure if they can do it, but the training builds them up to realize, oh, I have the capacity to
absolutely do it. And then on the flip side, there are people who may not get an introduction to the capacity aspect of it, may not know that they're capable, but again, kind of using the analogy of the parent here, they decide, I refuse to let my children grow up the way that I did, and so I don't know if I'm capable of making a difference yet, but I'm gonna try or die.
So that's leading by desire for better.
Desire for better, absolutely. It's like I don't know if I have the capacity yet, but I'm damn sure gonna try until something happens, until something shakes itself loose, if you will. You sound familiar. I love it. I love it. I love it. So the analogy we typically use for this point in the conversation is that of the philosopher. We've talked about the dancer. We've talked about the conductor. Here we talk about the philosopher. And just kind of go back a little bit with the conductor. It was about community. The dancer is about doing what you can with yourself. The conductor is realizing about how many other people are playing a part. Cooperation, absolutely. But this week, we want to take that extra step and kind of where we would normally deal with the philosopher, where you're taking time to think about and critically engage what has gotten you this far and what will take you a little further. Because I don't know if you've caught on yet, but the entire impetus of this series of conversations is the idea that we have the capacity to, and a long history of learning how to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So notice in this conversation, we use the dancer, we use the conductor, and now we're using the philosopher. But we've also taken the long view of history to look at the social evolution of our species to say, we've been figuring it out for quite a while.
Yeah.
We've been expanding our capacity for quite a while. We've been disciplining ourselves with new ways for quite a while. I think one of the most damaging things, and y'all let me know what you think. I think one of the most damaging things that happened, at least from my perspective, when I was growing up, is this idea of discipline, and the idea of discipline was conformity. When I was growing up, discipline wasn't management for improvement. Discipline was modification for conforming.
Just listen to this and do this.
Do what I say. Do what is the standard. Do what is the norm. Which unfortunately, because it was presented that way, when you do start trying to talk about self-discipline, or you do try to talk about discipline and management, it automatically triggers those negative connotations. And I don't know if I did that video this week, but I know I was thinking about doing a video about the difference between discipline and punishment, because I know that at least for me growing up, the two were the same. Discipline equal punishment. And now I realize that punishment and discipline have very little to do with each other. Discipline is about goal alignment. Discipline is about, is there something I can do with me to help me reach the goal that I want to hit?
Yeah, it's building productive habits when I think about discipline, because you're training yourself to do what is working over and over.
And the thing is, I think the difficulty sometimes comes in defining productive, and that's why I hate the fact that discipline got so attached to behavioral modification in favor of conformity, as opposed to goal alignment or because then Now, productive gets to be defined by someone else as opposed to yourself. And so you don't get to determine what's productive for you. Someone else has already defined what a productive habit is, and only that's productive. And anything that, if you're not doing that, it's productive, which is why we lied to a whole generation by telling them that playing video games were not productive.
Yeah.
But because we tried to make them fit into a norm of, no, you can't do this. This is a waste of time. Because we had this, and I do try to stress this quite a bit on this channel, is we buy into this idea that there's a predefined way to success. That there's a predetermined way to success.
When there's multiple ways to succeed, right?
Or at least that's what it has looked like, because if success was predetermined, predefined, then we'd all still be hunters and gatherers today, because that was already determined, it was already defined, but we didn't stay there. And so we moved from there. And so it always amazes me about humanity, how we get to this place where we watched all of these jumps that we've made and we still want to pause. Like, so every 10 years we say, this is it. Anything outside of this is unproductive.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but we did that the last 10 years and we realized that was incorrect. So why do this is just my little rabbit trail here. Why do we keep assuming the conclusion? Why do we keep assuming that this is the best, this is the top? And that's really where the conversation of the philosopher comes in at. It's the questioning aspect.
Yeah.
It's the questioning of, okay, so I disciplined myself, I managed myself, I shifted my nutrition, I changed the flow of information into my life. That helped me. I made some good strides. I built a community around me. I am playing that community like a good conductor. Things are going well, and that's activity. But at some point, I want to critically engage all of this activity with questions. Why does this work? How does this work? What else could work?
Yeah, I think it's a place of comfort.
Yeah.
It could be an issue there. So once we get to past one milestone, it's like, okay, this is where it's at. This is where we should be. Yeah. And then when you move past that, it starts to get in an uncomfortable zone. In a sense.
Yep. Oh, and I think that's the video that will drop Monday, the Keep Rising video. Or that only boys play video games. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes. But that's, this idea, and I know it's an idea that I've embraced, is that there is no promised land.
Yeah.
There is no place where everything is already figured out. There is no place where everything is already settled. And I actually find great liberty in that. I find great freedom in that. And I don't know if part of that is because I'm an artist or what.
Yeah.
But for me, when I realized, okay, there is no promised land, there is no predefined path, it gives me a greater sense of grace to let other people be. Even if your being, I wouldn't define as productive.
Wow.
Can you handle that?
Yeah. I can see that, but I think on another side, like people who believe there is a promised land or there's something set in stone, that's a comfort for them because it's like, oh, this is already designed. I don't have to figure it out. In a sense, like this is what is already set. Yep. And so it's still a comfort.
Well, yeah, it's a promise of ending.
Yeah.
It's that's what the promised land is. That, hey, all of this stuff you're having to do to make stuff work now, there's a place you can get where you're not going to have to do any of that anymore.
You don't have to innovate. You don't have to, and that's the thinking part, right? Like some people don't want to sit and think into what's going on. Let me break down the details, break down the matters, and knowing of a promised land or something, it relieves you from a duty in a sense. Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of attaches us to these ideologies of like, I shouldn't have to do all of that. It shouldn't take that much. And I'm like, according to what? The only way you can think that it shouldn't have to take all of that is if you already know what it should take.
What it should take.
And then that goes right back to the place of that idea of predetermined predestination. I think I've definitely got to Hello,
How you
welcome back.
doing?
Blessed be he. What did they say that in? Blessed be he. Gemstones. It's the righteous
Blessed be.
gemstones. That's what he said. Blessed be he.
Blessed be the fruit.
It was one of the great things I found from both of your presence. Example of the possibility of change. Sometimes it just takes the example to show opportunity for the change. Absolutely. And you know what? It also shows, and I've tried to get better at demonstrating this because it's been beautiful to me. It also means because, okay, all of you know I'm hyper productive.
Yeah.
So I believe in getting shit done.
Getting it done.
And I believe in getting a lot of shit, you know. Now, I have learned not to hold other people to that standard. Yeah. If you're not in partnership with me, if we're not working on something together, then I really have no right to hold you to that standard. I have this standard for my life because I have certain goals that I'm trying to attain. Right. Now, for me to then take somebody else who do not have those goals and say, you're a bad person because you're not trying to reach my goals, that's insane. You know what I'm saying? I think you remember you and I came to this place where we started realizing that sometimes what the very definition of toxic is wanting something for somebody else's life more than they want it for their own lives.
Yeah, and sometimes that's so hard to sit in that, especially when you're talking about friends or family or your own children.
Oh yeah,
it's so hard to separate because growing up, I'm thinking, no, you should want more for somebody else. And you should kind of inspire them or lead them or encourage them to want that for what you want from them. So
it sounds so like positive, right?
Yeah.
Like I want more for you. I want more for you. Yeah. But it's like at that moment you're living vicariously through that person. And it's like, how does your wants for my life get to supersede my wants for my life? And maybe I don't want all of that. I see. We do play a little twist.
Yeah.
And that got hard for me. Believing in an afterlife is like reading the last chapter of the book, and then just ignoring whether or not the journey towards that adds up. That could be a very I love that. My man, Darante, are you going to jam us some tunes? Oh yeah, you know it's sacrilege to show us a piano on the screen and not play it. I know it, like real talk.
We can do a live session one day where you're just jamming.
Absolutely.
Maybe we do that.
It is a Williams, blessed be he. But real talk, we do want to make music a big part of this. Expectations of other people is the best way to be disappointed. 100%. Absolutely. I literally define disappointment as the child of false expectations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Blessed be he is so nice. They always throw in compliments every time they pop in. Feel like they love bombing us. This is good conversation.
But yeah, expecting like wanting more.
Yeah.
For others, for me, that growing up,
it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. Well, even like it was something I had to wrestle with because, especially coming from ministry and you met some of my mentors. And so the way my mentors kind of viewed things and I was kind of aligned with it as well, is that you as the head of the household and as the father, you cast vision for your children and you basically determine. We don't say that, you determine, discern, right?
Yeah.
God is going to reveal to you who they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to do, and how they're supposed to do it. And then, it was only after converting that I realized, wow, I'm robbing them of the opportunity to actually determine what they want. Now, I'd be absolutely humbled and grateful if they say, Dad, the things that I want to do are things that align with some of the things that you want me to do. But I now realize that's the only way I could really, truly appreciate that outcome. If you're doing what I wanted you to do and it's not in alignment with who you are and what you want to do and where you see yourself, then I've done two things. I've robbed you of the discovery of yourself, and I'm not even giving you a good enough reason to trust my outcomes.
And that's a good point there. Oh, yeah.
Yep, it popped up and went away.
Okay.
When people start trying to mold us into their expectations, can we normalize? Yes. Can we normalize introducing them to, say, The Sims as an alternative? Yes. Yes. Is Darante's mic turned off? Can y'all not hear me? I don't know. I hope you can hear me.
It's turned on.
Yeah. Do you only find joy in physical things? It depends on how you define physical, because it's as of now, I don't know if there's anything I interact with that wouldn't meet the definition of physical. So some people, when they say, they think of non-material things such as love and happiness, and things of that nature. But I physically feel those things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Those things are a part of my biology. Those things are a part of my chemistry. So things that are not physical, it's almost like when people say things that are not natural. I have a really hard time understanding what you're saying there. I don't know anything that's not natural. I understand that we sometimes use the concept of immaterial. We hear you, but it's being picked up by a mic, not the one in front of him. That is interesting.
It's this.
But yeah. So the physical things, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, but I do like that example you're talking about between the child and the parent.
Yes.
In the sense of you wanting them to go in the direction that you want it to go. And that's similar to even when we talk about marriage, right?
Yes.
From my background, most of the people, if you're talking about what's going on in your marriage, like both of us have been divorced, and you may get some who will want you to stay in the marriage no matter what's going on or what's happening, right? And it's like, I feel this is best for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have some people who really believe like you can only be in this, and only that should work out. Well, we know that's not always the case, and that's always not better, right? So there's so many examples you can go by out, right? Not living in someone else's shoes per se, but doing what others want you to do, or what they feel is better for you, what they feel is more productive for you. So
yeah, and just being very careful not to rob people of the right to define what's best for themselves. Because again, like what I define as best for me is incredibly shaped, by my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's by the life that I've lived. And so for me to take the life that I've lived and say, because I've determined this is best for me, it must now be best for you, is for me to ignore your right to critically engage your own experiences, and that's why everything we interact with is physical. Don't quite understand what interacting with non-physical thing ever means. Yeah, that one's a difficult one for me. Oh man, I love this. Okay, so man, that was a good one, right?
We did go on a rabbit trail.
That was a good one. So even though we've been figuring out this whole time, actually, I don't even think I'm there yet. Yeah. Okay, yeah. It's really only when we can get past the discipline of the dancer, the community of the conductor, when we actually have the space to interrogate our journey. And our capacity. It's simply at this point where we have the luxury of exploring how our capacity evolves as we become better managers of ourselves, and again, whatever that looks like for you, and more cooperative and intentional community. And I think this is why community becomes so important, because community doesn't need everybody fulfilling the same roles. Community doesn't need everybody wanting the same things. Community doesn't need everybody wanting the same outcomes. So I'll use the church plant, a startup church, as somewhat of an example. You can have a startup church, and you let's say you have 30 families, each who want that community to succeed. What success looks like for that community, for each of them, is something different.
Yeah.
There may be a big picture of success means you don't die, or success means we don't go bankrupt, or success means We actually have people showing up, but it means something different for each one of them. Different. So for somebody there, success has something to do with leadership. For somebody there, success means we have sound doctrine, if you will.
Yeah.
Success means we have good organization. Success means we have motivational messages. We have inspiring messages. And so the person who identifies that as success, that's what they're going to commit themselves to.
Yeah.
There's another person who's going to say, well, success means we have great music. Success means that the music is engaging, that people feel welcome. And so that person who says success, equals great music isn't going to sign up to preach.
Exactly.
They're going to sign up for the music. Go ahead, babe.
No, I was just going to say, you kind of just walk through. Some people look at success short term, the day to day or the week by week. And then you have some people who measure success through the long run.
Yeah.
Right. So they may not see or notice the success that's going on the day to day or week by week, but the overall goal and meeting that goal for them is success. So I just noticed that.
Absolutely. It's highly nuanced. And sometimes I fear in this society that we've become so, I don't even know what it is, but we've gotten to the point where we find reasons to devalue people who are different than us. As opposed to, because we have this great tapestry of human history to look at, realizing that different people can play different roles for different reasons. Oh man, I don't know what it is. And your roles are playing for, you can be playing for different reasons, in different segments and all. But at the end of the day, nobody has to everybody doesn't have to be Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody has to start a Walmart. Somebody has to start a hospital.
Yeah.
Somebody has to, have convenience stores. Somebody has to work those convenience stores, And when I say has to, not literally has to, but in the sense, that's what community has looked like. Everybody has a role to play. So sometimes I think we can be a little too abrasive when we are, saying, no, you got to grind like I grind, or you got to do what I do. And going back to using the church as somewhat of a foundation, what we typically did with people, we said, you know what, I'm not necessarily passionate about music. I'm not necessarily passionate about preaching. For me, success is just that people feel welcome. And those people, some people say, oh, these people are less driven, and that's not necessarily the case. What it is something else is important to them, and that's something else that is important to them might be minor to somebody else, but is highly valuable to anybody else. Sounds pretty Gnostic. Sounds pretty Gnostic. Like the life that's most humanity has rejected Gnosticism. So I think he's Gnostic. Absolutely. Which I think part of that is so hard to like voices. It's almost hard to define. What's that word? Mainstream. BBH. Who is he? My fingertips are different to my father. All right now. All right. You're echoing pretty bad. Oh man, that's a yikes. But yeah. You was about to say something?
I said we're gonna push through.
Oh,
best we can.
But it's typical at this point after we've kind of wrestled with the aspect of self-discipline and wrestle with the aspect of community, that we finally have the luxury to critically engage. Because if your life starts off in chaos, and our life was there a few years ago.
Yeah.
You don't really have time to critically engage at the levels that you want to. You get kind of caught up in survival mode.
Right. And it takes, it's like a storm ball. It takes a while to get out the center of it.
Yeah. Because you literally have to manage the chaos. It's almost like kind of being set into this environment without any help, And like I think if any of us had to leave, man, It's yeah. I'm sorry, that kind of distracted me a little bit. What was I saying? I don't have a lot. It's pretty nice. But yeah, saying I'm a Christian too, and it might be worth looking into the life doctrine and why talks about it. Yeah. Why John 1 talks about it. I thought it said join for a minute. So yeah, it doesn't really work like that. Okay, let me do this real quick. Please don't put up anything else about the mics. All right. Okay. Listen, guys, we've been asking volunteers for months. What I do not like is backseat drivers. If you can't hear it, you already know we don't have any volunteers. We're trying our best to get through a conversation. You know, so I get it. It's bad. I am not an audio engineer. I'm a communicator. If you are an audio engineer, please feel free to volunteer. If you are not, honestly, the advice just comes off as more distracting than it does helpful. I hope that makes sense. I hope that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. But I would like, since we're separating ourselves from superstition, I would like them to realize that the advice isn't helpful. Especially, I've already explained several times that we're literally doing as much as we can do. And just to be absolutely clear, everybody else has made it clear that they're too busy to help. So what you're getting is the best that we can do, and it is an absolute slap in my face if I'm trying to have a conversation and every other word is something's wrong with the sound. I'm not an audio engineer. I'm sorry. I can't help you. There's nothing else I can do there. So forgive me for my little rabbit trail back to regularly scheduled programming.
Yes. So coming in, trying to come out the storm of survival itself is a heavy work.
It's work. It is work. What we're experiencing right now is trying to find a way to manage the chaos.
Yeah.
You know, even with the sound system and everything else, we are managing the chaos. Are trying to. But as I often point out, even with politics, it is so much easier for people to point at the chaos instead of becoming a part of having to manage it.
Yeah. It's like jumping in the ring.
Yeah.
Like,
What's not jumping in?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
is looking inside the ring, telling what to do. And
trying to coach. Trying to coach. It's like, I don't need coaches. I need cooperation.
Yeah.
I need co-laborers.
Co-laborers. I like that.
If you will. So for the dancer, the focus was discipline, management, and nutrition, all in the realm of the self and in the spectrum of control. What can I change? What can I control? What can I count on? You know, but it's basically just kind of embracing chaos as a constant that as of now cannot be avoided, but can be managed. And so we kind of respond to the chaos with management, and then we respond to the complexity with community. And that's what kind of brought us to the conductor, because then for the conductor, the focus is cooperation, community, and support. And this is all in the realm of group and in the spectrum of influence. Who can play a part? Who can play a part? Well done will always be better than well said.
I like that. And the great thing about thinking about the conductor, they piece together people with different points. What we were talking about earlier, who brings in different skills or does different things and different brings in different aspects to make that community function.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody doesn't play the same instrument, right?
Yeah.
And so every piece is needed.
Every piece is needed. Every instrument isn't featured. Every instrument isn't in every song, you know. And so it really does have to come to a place of really valuing everybody and the parts that they can play while understanding that the parts have not been predefined. Almost every social failure I've seen happen in churches, communities, or schools have happened when somebody told somebody something couldn't be done this way. In arts, no, we don't do it that way. this can't be done now. The person who does it that way ends up becoming a fucking legend.
And that's always the case. Yeah.
Always the case. And that's that lesson. I'm like, why don't we learn that lesson and just stop trying to tell people what can't be done? Every record that has been broken is proof that we're not good measurers of what can't be done.
Oh, and you know, a part of that too is making it seem like people who aren't human can only do those things.
Yes.
So we attach, oh, they're not human because they can do something, you know, beyond what was done before.
Yeah.
But you realize, no, they're still human. They're just pushing the limits. Their nutrition may be good. Their how they manage the chaos, how they condition themselves, how they have that support in that community, and they're able to keep going and go beyond the limits.
Absolutely. And so it becomes recognizing that complexity is both the response to managing chaos and it's the result of managing chaos. So like the more you actually start engaging chaos, things don't get easier. That's where there is no promised land comes from.
Yeah.
As of now, with entropy, we're kind of stuck on a hamster wheel. We gotta keep going. Which kind of means embracing challenges as a perpetual reality that we currently have the capacity to organize ourselves around to meet. And that's really where the philosopher comes in. For the philosopher, the focus is understanding, the focus is capacity, and the focus is intention. All in the realm of the larger society and in the spectrum of cooperation. What a lot of times what happens with our in-groups and our community groups is we end up trying to define the whole of society by our in-group. So if you've grown up, well, I don't want to say most people, but a great deal of people made the mistake of thinking that what they saw the first 25 years of their lives was a reflection of the whole world.
Oh, the whole world, yeah.
You know, oh, surely everybody is this way. Well, surely everybody acts like this. Well, surely everybody believes this is the greatest thing ever. Well, surely nobody likes this. Well, surely everybody believes this is wrong. And that's really what happens with communities if we're not careful, is that you begin to determine your experience as a standard, and everybody else is deviating from the standard.
That's so true. That's so true. Yes. And it's not the right way.
It's not the right way. What we're doing is normal. Yeah. The way I've seen the world is normal, and anybody who's doing anything other than me is not normal. But when you start seeing outside of that in-group, the same thing that happens you had to see within yourself. As an individual, there's certain things that I can do and certain things that I need to do. But in order for the community to work, I need other people doing different things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If we're all building houses, who's growing food?
Right.
If we're all growing food, who's making clothes?
Who's dealing with transportation?
Right. You know, and then like if we're telling everybody that singing and playing video games and playing the drums and dancing is a waste of time, when do we have art? You know, when do we have recreation? And so it's finding ways, you know, and this kind of stems back into the how to human conversation. It's just really trying to find ways to appreciate other people and realizing that other people being themselves can be immensely valuable to you. And not can be, has been, is.
Correct, yeah.
Man.
And then even in the levels, because, you know, there's conversations about, okay, well, what do you do with the working class in the sense of maids or janitors or fry cooks and technology taking over those? And well, even in those pieces, things still tend to evolve. Right?
Absolutely.
We used to wash clothes with our bare hands. Now we have washer machines, you know.
Well, there used to be a guy who had to run the elevator for you.
Yes.
There used to this was a career. This was a job. This was someone sat in the elevator, pressed a button, and then one day somebody said, "Oh, did it," and that was the end of that. You know, of course, it didn't happen that linearly, but ultimately, that is the evolution of things. You know, And it's funny because there are some career trajectories that have stayed with us almost since the beginning of our enlightenment, if you will. And there's other ones that have come and that have gone. And I don't know. I guess part of my deconversion is I don't view any of these things as guaranteed. Even in my career field, as far as diversity and product management, talent acquisition, all of these things are things that will likely eventually succumb to artificial intelligence, or some other thing. And that's really kind of the goal of these conversations, because that will manifest chaos for some people. That will be chaos, and it's like, well, how do I harmonize after this? And it's, first of all, take a look around and see what the options are. I think, this was just my personal story. For me, for a long period of my life, I just wasn't actually considering all my options. I had actually closed myself off to options that were outside of my call and options that were outside of my passion, because the two most important things became calling and passion. And so there are things that I am called to do, and there are things that I am passionate about doing, and I shouldn't be considering any other thing outside of that. That was a horribly limited way to live.
Because it's more things you can do.
Absolutely.
Right? Where you have the capability of upskilling to you won't go after it.
You won't go after it. Well, and it's like there's this old principle that you don't know if you like chocolate cake until you try chocolate cake. And so if you already, before even experiencing any other possibilities, have already said, well, no, this is what I'm restricted to do, because that's what you're saying, you're called to do. This is, this is what I am predefined for, which means I really didn't give myself a lot of room to explore other options. That's good stuff.
And that's the good thing with time. As life go on and you're still here, you can always shift and change.
Absolutely. And so, the idea becomes that challenges will be perpetual, complexity will be perpetual, chaos will be perpetual. The key will be a continuous interrogation of our capacity to manage it, to build community around it, and to continually to critically engage it. Starting with what can I do, what can I control, what can I count on, moving to who can play a part. And of course, the thing about who can play a part, the word that we didn't hit in this is reciprocity. Because when the question becomes, okay, who can play a part in helping me manage this? A fair question to ask in return is, what part can I play in helping them manage whatever they got? Because that's how community works,
It's an exchange.
It is an exchange. And so ultimately, when I look at this is somewhat of how civilizations have managed to emerge from chaos. And this is normally the part of the curriculum where light bulbs go off, because this is where many people realize that there might be a disconnection between the world that they thought they lived in and the world that they actually live in. And finding that line seems to become increasingly difficult. And so I know one thing I constantly do now, and you've seen me do, is just take inventory. Is actually look at things, see what's fulfilling its purpose, what's doing what it said it would do.
Yeah.
When I stopped pastoring, one of the decisions I made is that I no longer wanted ornamental relationships. I no longer wanted people around me just to say I have this title, whether that title is a working title, staff title, or even just a familial friend title. What part am I playing in your life? What part are you playing in my life? Because my life is chaos. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm managing my chaos, and I hope you're managing yours as well. And if we are in a relationship, let's find some ways that we can be managing together, because that's just good math to me.
That's defining the roles.
Absolutely. I think I know for a fact I was so afraid on the other side of things of getting to this place, because which I often use the word math to talk about it. It's just mathematical for me. And I thought, dang, Darante, that's just going to be so cold and so calculating. And now that I'm on this side and I do view things that way, I don't feel cold, or I still feel calculated, but I don't feel cold at all. I actually feel like I have warmer relationships now, because the relationships actually generate heat. It actually generates.
Got some friction.
And so you kind of manage yourself via control and discipline. The group manages via influence, and the society manages through cooperation. And the big question that we use to kind of wrap this up is understanding, how is my cooperation currently being used? All of us are cooperating with something right now, for the most part, unless you abandon society at large and decided to live on your own, which I'm not against. I actually have I have a high level of respect for people who homestead, for people not even homestead. Homesteading is sophisticated way.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there have been movements of people who just go back into the woods.
Go in tiny homes.
Well, see, again, tiny homes I consider the sophisticated route. I'm talking about people who go back into the woods and without a house, and just kind of forage, which I have respect. Like I have more respect for them than my friends who say, society should be simple while having iPhones and shit like that. Because at the end of the day, what they're saying is, I shouldn't have to work, but somebody else should be working to get me this stuff. Because this stuff is literally coming out of labor shops, and you want it. But I also have people who, they're very sincere, very genuine. And it's like, no, I think life should be simpler and it shouldn't be this complicated. And those people don't have complicated things. And so, and for them, I would never disrespect that, because you're being sincere, and you have that right. And there may be just a great amount of value that humanity can pull from that. And so, like, there are people. I don't know how many survive, but there are people who do it. They decide, I'm just going to get a tent and I'm just going to live, not because something is wrong with my life, not because, I'm poor and I'm homeless, but there are people who make that decision just because, they're like, hey, I kind of want to debrief. I want to break away from everything. And I just want to live in one with nature. And I find that absolutely beautiful. I'm not ready to make that commitment.
Yeah.
There are some commitments that I'm ready to make. That's just not.
That's not one of them.
But if you haven't made one of those commitments, you're cooperating. Yeah. You may not be cooperating well, but in some way. Yeah. And so a question that I want to leave some people with is, currently, how is your cooperation being used? Are you benefiting from your cooperation?
That's a great question to ask.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that was my previous structure. I've always been highly cooperative. To this day, I'm still a very cooperative person. I'm not very compliant, but I'm very cooperative. But I realized that I was cooperating with systems that were not cooperating with me. So there were systems that had my full commitment of cooperation, but those systems did not have. But I didn't have their full commitment of cooperation. And when I say systems, I'm not always using something so cold. For me, one of those systems was family. Yeah. I was highly cooperative with my family, but my family had no sense of cooperation with me. And so that's the question: how is your cooperating benefiting you? Because you have the choice to cooperate better, and sometimes cooperating better means cooperating with people.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a place of honesty for some people. Makes you realize, whoa, this whole time cooperating, there's been no great exchange.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
which takes you to another question to build off of that as well, is how much of my current cooperation with others is intentional versus circumstantial. How many people am I cooperating with just because we just so happen to be born in the same house or went to the same school or work at the same place? Is there any avenues in my life where I've actually gone out of my way to create cooperation in my life, to create the systems in my life that would most benefit me? Because we kind of hit earlier that other people will try to take that seat from you. Other people will try to tell you what's best for your life. And we've identified that that can be very toxic. But on the other side of that, what can be just as damaging is you not making the decision of what is best for your life. Again, freeing that definition from what anybody else has. This is best because I think it's best. Like right now, I don't need anybody else's permission to be me.
No.
I don't need anybody else's permission to, I don't need anybody else to say what Darante is going after is the best thing for me to determine that what I'm going after is the best thing. And that's the freedom we should give everybody, is that nobody's best thing is subject to my approval or anybody else's. But you need something. You need what is best for you? What is best for you? And then ask yourself, how many of my decisions have aligned with that end, with that outcome?
Wow.
If you begin to realize that certain types of conversations are helpful for you, what are you doing to get into those conversations?
Yeah.
If you realize that your friend circle is missing a certain type of element, what are you intentionally doing to add that element to your friend circle? If you realize your network, is missing something, what are you doing to get yourself where you need to go to get those elements? That becomes the cooperative aspect for society as a whole of realizing that my community is very important for me, but there's still opportunity for me outside of my community as well.
And that's you taking charge for producing your own outcomes in a sense, like you're playing a part in what's going to happen, your result, either way, whether it's life or whatever part you're in.
Absolutely.
Instead of thinking like my result is predefined or predetermined, my outcome is predetermined. That you play role with it.
Absolutely. And so that basically brings us to the conclusion of today's conversation. And just as a reminder, why do we drive these conversations on Sunday? Which this is some of the reasons why sometimes we do try to disengage from the chat just a little bit, because things can get sidetracked from the big point, from the major goal. And the major goal is healthy people, healthy relationships, and healthy outcomes. These conversations aren't about theology. These conversations aren't necessarily about politics, though those things will arise. These conversations are about learning how to be people again and learning how to be people with each other. And that's what we want. Healthy people, healthy relationships, healthy outcomes. All right. And of course, don't forget to join us next week. We will be having a Game of Songs conversation. And of course, that one will be abbreviated because that week will be on Skeptic. No, not Skeptic. Talking. They both ended.
Sydney, right? I believe
it's going to Sydney up. All right, baby. Now I'll let you take it from here.
Yes. Consider joining us again back next week. Perhaps bring in a friend. Be sure to share and feel free to come back and leave a comment even after the live. If you haven't liked, subscribe, or join the community, you can join on YouTube, Patreon. It's so many ways to support. We definitely appreciate that. Go ahead and do that. Also, as my husband said earlier, we're looking for volunteers. We're looking for partnerships to really grow efficiently and do things in a more grand way that we want to. So definitely consider partnering with us. We have merch, so go check out the merch store. Think responsibly. You got hoodies, cups, hats, just all types of things in there available for you. Share with everyone you can. And if you are interested in supporting financially, or you have already, thank you so much. We definitely use your financial support for many things, building up the quality, building up, continuing the quantity of content that you're getting out, the diversity of the content, what's coming to you, how it's coming to you. That really helps. And if you aren't able to financially give, my husband always remind you every week, hey, don't feel obligated.
Don't do that.
Don't push yourself. past that limit. Be smart. Know your numbers. Okay. Know your numbers.
And let me just kind of interject and say why I was that way even when I was a pastor. And then that was just one of the things that sickened me about some of my contemporaries. And many of them, they thought they were well intentioned. They thought they were well meaning because in their theology, God loves sacrifice. You know, in their theology, sacrifice gets God's favor. You know, and for me, that was always difficult because I grew up poor. You know, and I think a lot of people in this country grew up poor, but I grew up really, really, really poor, like sleeping on people's porches. You know, not having a place to stay. And my great aunt, who I call Granny, she was a faithful church goer for the most part, but she was always clear that she wasn't giving any money when she couldn't afford to give. And I guess hearing Granny say that so many times helped it stuck in my head. But then we've also been through times. There was a time when I had accepted a musician gig at a church, and just because we were on hard times. And it was literally enough, just enough with the musician gig and this other job that I had. It was just enough to cover the hotel that we were living in.
Yeah.
And the preacher, who I was not even a member of their church, by the way, but the preacher was very adamant that, hey, this little bit we're paying you, you have to tithe out of it. And I'm like, well, if I tithe out of it, my family of 6 will not have a place to stay. I don't hear anybody offering that place to stay.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I find that 100% dehumanizing. Now, the tithe out of that little check he was going to give me wasn't going to make anybody rich, which is also why I find it disingenuous when people say, well, preachers are just trying to do that to make themselves rich. No, he was doing that because he believed it.
Yeah.
I find believing that to be highly stupid,
Yeah.
but he did believe it. He was the type of person who did stuff like that.
Yeah.
He wrote checks to his mentor when he couldn't afford to do it.
Right.
But this is how you exasperate poverty, even when you have all of the resources for wealth. Okay, that's a whole nother other conversation. But no, there's in my mind, there is nothing wise in ignoring the math.
It's not honorable.
It's not. Like I would I don't want anybody doing it. Please don't ever financially support us if you can't afford to. My greatest desire is that you get your financial fortitude, you get where you need to be, because we're all in this together. And as we kind of remind you every week, there are more ways to support than finances. And this is something. This is to me who I am. People are more valuable than money. You know, money doesn't make people. People make money. And money is simply a measurement of human activity. You know, this is why slavery was. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
And so if we can learn how to value each other, like you're valuable to this channel, you're valuable to this community, whether you have a dime or not. Being here, liking the videos, commenting on the videos, engaging in the conversation. There's value. There are other people in the chat who are learning from you, and you know, learning from you doesn't always mean you taught them something. Learning from you sometimes means them just seeing that you existed.
Yeah.
Them just seeing that somebody who thinks like you existed, because that's exposure. And so please don't devalue yourself if you can't give. Like, no, you're not the only one. You know, I can't give right now. That's why I'm giving my time. Hello. I find that to be more valuable than any money I could put on the table right now.
Yeah.
I don't even have enough money for good audio equipment, apparently. Apparently. You know, so, but no, that's a jest. But no, and in all seriousness, like, we have to help each other. And one of the ways you help each other is making sure that people feel safe. And I will make this rabbit trail every week if I have to, until it gets to the point. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Dale, you're advocating for humanity. I did not know that this whole time. I did not know that this whole dang time. That just blew my mind. And I talked to Dale in Discord, but I had no clue that Dale was advocating for humanity. We've given you a shout out like every week for the past 2 weeks. And I'm like, dang, I guess Dale is just jumping in the Discord. He's not in the conversations. And he's been here every damn week. Damn.
We appreciate
Dale, you are amazing. Like, damn. Like you are amazing. Thank you. And Dale took the advice. We said, jump in, don't ask our permission. Just jump in and get stuff done. And that's bruh, it makes me want to cry. It makes me want to cry because that's what it's gonna take. That is what it's gonna take. Can you put his comment back up just so everybody can see that one?
Yes.
And you know, because Dale is here, and Dale did sign up to volunteer, so I'm just making it official. Dale is a representative of BridgeCity Global. He'll be representing in the Discord after the show for conversation. Please jump in there. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. I love you. I cannot say that enough.
Yes.
I cannot say that. Wow. Okay, babe, I interrupted your flow. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Now, with that being said, if you want to help build this online community, BridgeCity Global, if you're thinking about starting a community or a local hub in your area and want to be an affiliate and support, or even with you just attending and you want to give some information or some feedback, I'm going to throw some forms in the chat where you can click the link and fill out the form. They're simple, easy forms. They're not hard at all. And we do receive those, and we will get back with you at our earliest convenience. So check your email. Sometimes our emails may fall in your spam folder.
Yeah.
When it comes from www.dldd.us. All right, 3 W's. And so just look out for our responses there. Also, if you're already on Discord, don't forget you can look at the volunteer guide. If you just want to see what it's about or get any more information on there, you can check that guide out on our Discord as well.
And just to interject real quick, I don't know if y'all can tell, I had my thinking face on for a minute. But I know we're looking for this campus executive role, which is very important, very hands-on. I love that. But also in the church world, which one thing I did appreciate about church created space for people who were passionate about communicating. You know, and ultimately, that's what preachers are. At the end of the day, preachers are just people who are passionate about communicating. They just got attached to one script. They're like actors who only got one script, you know? But it's an interesting thing because I think we do need that. You know, I remember growing up, churches had oratory contests and stuff like that. You know, and outside of church, you really didn't get that a lot. So I think that's definitely something that secular community can do well in. Is creating that training ground for professional communicators and things of that nature. But where I was headed with that was, so when building a church, as the church was always growing, of course you had people who you needed to be responsible for things. You know, you have people and that's basically what we're looking for volunteers for people who will be responsible for things. Yeah. But then you also made room for people who just wanted to preach. You know, as long as they weren't going to be saying anything off the wall, it was like, you know, they just wanted to preach. And typically they were ministers. They didn't have pastor in their title. You didn't expect them to do anything else other than that. You didn't expect them to manage the volunteers or anything. But there were people who, you know, you could put on the preaching roster, if you will. I do think that one of the things that I want to do, because that's something I've been wrestling with, and I know I've mentioned on the channel a few times, is we'll put together a calendar of all upcoming conversations for Sunday sessions and Bible study with the next pastor, and start anybody in the community who wants to express being a part of those conversations are wanting to possibly lead those conversations, we can create that avenue to get involved. Because some of you are content creators yourself, and so you're creating content on your own channels. And I don't want anybody to think that by partnering with us or volunteering with us that we want you to stop doing stuff on your channels. We shouldn't exert that type of control over you. I can't control anything you're doing. I'm not asking you to stop doing anything on yours, only to help a little bit over here. And so I think we'll do that. That's what my mind is.
I like that. Keep doing you while partnering with us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, we dropped the forms in the chat, you all. Thank you so much. Are you about to do it?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know we made it.
Yeah, we dropped the forms in the chat there. You'll see, as I was saying, how may we help you? Do you want to help build a bridge where you live? And also see, are you just interested in getting active and involved with us with BridgeCity Global, which is our online progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming community? Definitely let us know. We greatly appreciate that. And any other?
I think that's it. I am hungry and I need a smoke break. So, but we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. And thank you for bearing my rants, because I think I rant every Sunday, every time. But that's part of me just being unapologetically me. I used to kind of take a lot of stuff and I just don't anymore. If other people can freely communicate, so can I, God damn it. All right, then. But thank you all for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep rising, be the bridge. Did I do that?
Yes, you did.
Well, let me take that off for a moment. I brought in the close a little too early. Until next time, keep rising. And until next time, be the bridge. We'll holler at y'all later. That was solid.
Say bye.